It's time for everyone's favorite segment. Sure it is. Blinky Flashy Lowdown with our professional sequence purchaser, Brian McVeigh.
Hey, good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. This is Brian, and I am your Blinky Flashy Lowdown sequence purchaser. And I have Clyde Lindesy, our regular now monthly basis. We're going to kind of BS with him for, I don't know. Jesus, Clyde, you got like a whole hour if you got time. And
Well,
you could probably hear my phone. So
I'm leisurely programming at this point. So
right on.
Not
And
leisurely, but I have work to do. So there's always work.
Busy.
It is the busy time. And I also got Keith up there in the corner. Well, and right across from me. How you doing, Keith?
I'm doing great. I just finished recording an episode with John Spiker. So guys, catch that next week.
Right on. Cool. Good deals. Well, I'm a slacker. I've been doing everything. And I think this medication is really affecting my memory because I can't remember. I got really bad CRS and I don't know what's going on with that. But anyways, this is going to air Wednesday morning. So I asked Clyde if he had time, he could talk with us. I got his site pulled up in case we need to do a little shopping or anything. We got a couple more days left where you can pick up the last month's or this month's sequence. And then here in a few days, we got the new sequence coming out.
Yeah, about that new sequence.
Want to get right into it?
You know, let's make them wait.
Oh, okay.
String them around.
I wasn't sure if you were going to let something slip. I'm looking out for my.
I mean, we can do it however you want. We can do it however you want, but it's going to be rather anticlimactic.
I was just looking out for the listeners, see if I could get you to slip something with a loose lip or something.
Maybe I'll tell you exactly what's up my sleeve.
You never will.
Try me.
So Keith,
what's up?
So Keith, what do you sequence your own, or do you have a certain style of sequence that you like?
The last 2 years, I have not sequenced a song myself. I rely on amazing sequences like Pixel Pro displays and Showstoppers and a few others out there. Because honestly, I'm just not as talented or as detailed oriented in that side of this hobby. I'm more the physical, touching the objects, building the props. But, I can map the best of them. So, and like Pixel Pro displays, for example, they create these easy mapping systems that, make it really easy for me to kind of plug, or at least the props are easily identifiable. And the whole layout is just so easy to plug and play with my own layout myself. And I have some unique stuff too. So it doesn't matter. You can easily plug it in. So that's kind of my strategy the last couple of years is just kind of mapping, kind of went like a couple of years ago from the Google Drive. And then when December hit last year, it was like, I got to branch out. I want something more unique. I loved what I was seeing from the professionals out there. And so I reached out and I got some of that. And I even signed up for some clubs. I suggest doing that, especially if you're somebody like me, which you map the best and you're more focused on the hardware side. And you just kind of want to let somebody else that's a professional at the sequencing go. The clubs are an amazing resource to that. I just love those things. So that's kind of my strategy.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the easy mapping tools that they have is just absolutely awesome. And I'm still behind the power curve. I just got my layout done. Just got all the channel assignments done on it with the controllers that I'm using, and it was about a pain in the butt. So now I can actually start mapping the sequences that I've been getting from Clyde and Robert and the other ones with the club that I'm in. So getting those mapped over, I'm going to have to go back to PPD's website and look at the mapping. I got to do regrouping with everything that I've put in there, the changes that I've made, the 46-inch snowflakes, the 24-inch, the 30-inch, the 36-inch. I got to get all the groups done correctly where it makes it easier to do the mapping. When you get that, you can easily pair up the right stuff with the layout and whatnot. So, and I know, Clyde, you got a really good tutorial on that you did last year for the basic layout, I believe it was.
Well, we've done a number of them, and we continue to do it. You know, one of the things we've been really focusing on the past few months is mapping sequences, not just showing you how to do it, but actually getting either members or people who purchased from us, getting them to actually do a mapping, and it's kind of like pulling teeth because it's not hard to map, but it's a process to map. You know, if you follow the steps, which the steps are whatever sequence, whoever you buy a sequence from, the first step you have to do is you have to download it. Okay. The second step has got to be you've got a zip folder with a package sequence. You have to extract it. And the absolute most important thing about that extraction is it needs to be extracted into your xlights directory under an import folder. Okay. You can organize your structure however you want, but if you're saving your extracted folder here and your xlights directory is over here, it's really going to confuse your xlights directory whenever it's looking for information in another folder. It just makes it so much easier to have your xlights directory and then your import folder. So there's the download, there's the extraction, and once you extract it, you need to go into your import folder and you need to point your xlights directory to that imported sequence layout. Whoever's layout that is, you need to open it up in their layout, render the sequence, open the sequence, render the sequence, save the sequence, and then you can close the sequence. And then you can begin your process of doing your import by creating a new sequence in your layout. So it is a process, and it is a few extra steps. But the challenge that we see is that people don't know this, and they don't know this and they think, well, I'm just going to wait until the show's up and then I'll start messing with the sequences because they're just sitting there. So now it's like, 2 days before Thanksgiving or 2 days after Thanksgiving, and they're trying to get their show running, and they have all these sequences to map that they're supposed to be easy, but for them the process is what's confusing. So that's truly what I have been focusing on for 3 months now. We have some wonderful affiliates at PPD, namely Todd Merkel, who is the Wizard of Wire, and he has donated a fully populated pixel wireframe for September and October, and we had a drawing just a few weeks ago. 2 lucky winners. They and all in order to enter for the drawing for that raffle, all you had to do was post up your monthly club sequence download and map it and post it into the group. And the reason that we did this was not just because Todd wanted to give something away. I mean, we all like giving stuff away, but the idea was you need to start thinking about mapping, because if you don't, it's going to be this hard thing in November whenever your brain's already crunched from, Brian, you just said I've got to get my stuff together. So that's kind of what I have been. That's my personal mission has been the past 2 months, is to really get people thinking about mapping. And more recently, I would say that it's what I noticed the most is that people really don't know I don't want to say there's a wrong way to map, but if you mapping correctly, things won't work the right way. So
right, and that was going to be the question that I was thinking about, because last year I missed a step. Last year I never opened it up in their layout, render it, save it in their layout. So what I was doing is I would go to your website, I would play it on, say, my TV or whatever, and then I would match it up with, okay, well, I like what those spinners are doing, but I want to put those on my snowflake. So I was putting those on, say, my smaller snowflakes, and then I would have the other snowflake group for the larger snowflakes. So it wasn't a bad setup that I had last year, or bad mapping, but it can be better with that extra step. And that's why I wanted to talk about mapping, is because I totally skipped that last year and went straight to, once I saved it in my folder, which I don't even think I did an imports folder, just saved it in my main layout folder. And then from there, got the music over at Amazon, wherever, and then open up the mapping from there, or the effects, and that's probably where I messed up quite a bit. So,
Well,
and it's
I wouldn't say you messed up if a number of the folks that have been wonderful who joined the club and are getting the free sequences, get the original sequences when we started last year. Last year when we started was our first year. And my programming is I won't say I don't want to say my programming's better, but xlights is so far advanced in the past 10 months. It's insane what xlights can do this year that it couldn't do last year. It really is. And I won't say that I'm a better sequencer. I'm the same sequencer, but I use a lot more tools. And one of those tools, a couple of those tools have to deal with video effects. A couple of them have to do with AVIs, and a couple of them have to do with pictures. And these are things that in my first year, I really stayed away from, because it was easy for you to do exactly what you're saying, which is just download it, extract it somewhere, and just pull the stuff out of that XML and say, okay, I'm going to map to this and map to this. We're at a point in time right now where xlights, where I utilize the shaders effects, anything with a file that's attached to it. If you don't render that sequence in our layout or in whoever's layout that you're buying it from, if you don't render that sequence first in that layout, none of the file effects will come in. All of the regular effects, the native xlights effects. But I've adapted to a different way of programming so that it more likely will flow over top of everybody else's display in a much more solid manner, an easier manner, or a better manner. But if you don't follow that one step, you get a bunch of red on your screen, or you have a bunch of missing pictures. So that's what that's been the big push this year, is to try and get the word out. I've started in May with mapping, and nobody in May was thinking about having their layout done. And so
just download it and put it in a folder. Yeah.
So the other mission that I've been on, and I'm really paying attention to it now, because it's something that I mentally do it every year. And the reason I mentally do it every year is because I'm used to the after effects of every year. So if this is your first year, your challenge as sequencing goes is, how do I sequence in xlights? Okay, so then you go download a couple songs from the Google Drive, or you buy a couple sequences. That's great. But now you've got this one layout, and then you're frantically trying to learn how to pull in this and pull in that and map and do all this stuff. Okay, you're learning this, okay, in your first year, and you're doing it all usually at the last minute in a crunch time. So you're not learning it, you're just forcing yourself to get it done, just so that you can see the lights go. And I know, because this is what I see this every year. And then in December, everybody has it up and running. Oh my God, it looks beautiful. January comes, they grab their little list. Brian, you got your notepad right there, right?
I always got my notepad. Yep.
And they grab their notepad and they say, I am going to add such and such to my list for next year. They make out their pre-sale order list. They order all this crazy crap. And the next thing you know, it's March, April, May, and they're building away with 2x4s and Boscoia mesh netting, and it's wild and crazy, right? But what you don't think about is, if you really truly are going to follow through with those plans, just do your xlights layout at that point in time. Just start adding to your xlights layout right then and there. Because when you do, then all of the sequencing that you can do during the wintertime, because you're not going to build anything and you're probably broke because of Christmas, you can get all your programming set up. You can get your xlights layout set up. And in January, February, March, how nice would it be just to have everything that you did last year, just remap it? Oh, I can really focus on mapping now because I've got my layout ready. And then April, May, June comes along. You start building and buying, building and buying, building and buying. Maybe you throw in a map here, there, and whatever. And then you get into November and you've already got your layout done. Maybe some of your props didn't get done. Guess what? You can put those props off till next year. You don't, if you run out of time, you run out of time. The people out there watching your show don't know what you're not going to have. So if it's programmed in xlights, though, guess what? It's an easy fix. You get the show up and running, you have enough to run your show, and then you can keep building and throw it out there whenever it's done. And the programming's already done because you started your layout in December of last year, and I'm not even kidding you. I am
I've
not
always
even
done
kidding
it
you.
bass. I'm so backwards.
But see, that's the thing. That's my mission this year. My mission this year is to make next year more successful and easier for people. And nobody ever, the first year, nobody is thinking about their second year, except what they're going to do next year. They're not setting themselves up. They're just sitting there with a piece of paper saying, I'm going to do this, 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 instead of sitting with xlights and saying, how do I build this model? How do I build this model? Instead, they slam it all in at the end and they try to make it all work, and it gets really frustrating. And that's what my goal, my hope, my dream is, that everybody, if they're listening to this podcast, especially because you all are blinky flashy people, seriously consider doing your layout in December. You can throw it into another layout directory and you can just go play with it, and you're not going to mess your original stuff up. So that's the mission right now. That's the mission I'm on.
Yeah, I can already see that kind of in the community with people that have been doing it for a little while. You can kind of see this is like the cutoff point that people are like, okay, yeah, that's going to be for next year. But I love your idea of doing the whole thing in xlights, the layout for the planning for next year in the middle of December. That's just, it's a good way to get a kickstart into the next year.
That's the idea.
I'm terrible with it. I do it all backwards.
Well, there's no backwards. It's the natural progression. We naturally come off of a high in December and into January where it's, oh my God, I got to take it all down. And now if you started, think about the lifestyle of an extreme lighter. Think about it. So you see it in November and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to do that next year. Well, if you're doing RGB and people say they're going to do it this year, then they're, it's too much to do. You don't try. So we tell everybody, start next year. So they all relax and they're excited. So they learn January, February, March, April, May. And about April, we start to see this little, in January, it's really busy in January. February tapers off. March really tapers off. Mm-hmm. April, it's springtime, baby. Who cares about Christmas lights? I'm going four-wheeling. I'm going out and, doing whatever. and then that's April and May and June. And then in July, people start, oh, let me start building my Christmas. Oh, my pre-sale came in. Oh, I got to order this Boscoyo stuff. Wait, July. It's a July sale for Boscoyo. Holy cow. Now I'm 6 weeks behind ordering my stuff. And, oh, God, I need to get all that. If you're thinking about it in December, December's the best time to work on your layout for the next year. It just is. And it
well, see, and I did do that part correctly because I knew what I wanted to order. And I think February I ordered my Boscoyo stuff with the 24-inch flakes, the 46-inch living light show. And I had all of that. It was 2 or 3 boxes, I think, is what came in. So that was all good. Mm-hmm. But it was a matter of getting it on my layout for how I wanted it laid out. And that's where I stumbled at. And then, of course, my laptop took a junk, went tits up on me. So, or sorry, Keith, edit that out. My laptop went out on me. So as I'm laid up in my recliner, I can't work on xlights because it's in here on my big computer, not on the laptop that doesn't work. So,
well, Brian, your situation was just I
built a lot of them. Let's
be honest. Your situation was a little bit different. It wasn't for a lack of wanting to do it. It was for the lack of the ability or the situation, the circumstances. So don't beat yourself up over that. I mean, look at you. You've been a furious maniac with doing stuff the past 2 months. So I mean,
trying.
But you're doing it because the doctor said you can start being a little bit more get up and go. So you're doing that, okay, and that's great. So,
wind chill of -4 tomorrow. Yay! Insulated Carhartts, here we come. I had them on today when I was out in the garage, but yeah, good times.
God
winter definitely came early up here, so
yeah.
I'm not complaining at all.
Yeah, seriously.
It'll probably turn nice the week that I'm gone. Of course.
You bring that
But
nice
so
weather.
yeah, and I am getting around. I don't even think I bought this month's, or did I got this month's sequence yet from the.
I don't think I did either. Oh wait, maybe I did.
Uh,
I don't know.
I don't think I have. So might
I-
have to
Well,
check my stuff, see if I got
well,
it or
I'll plug it real quick. This month for
not. No.
wait, when's the video go out? When's
Wednesday.
So Wednesday. Today's Monday.
Yeah, Wednesday morning.
I can share my screen.
Okay, well it's Wednesday morning, so that'll be the 30th of October, and the sequence of the month. You have a couple choices still. If you were doing a Halloween display this year, we tried to do something really cool, which was give you the choice between Rob Zombie or the Jingle Bell Rock, Jingle Bells from Bing Crosby and the Andrews Sisters. Those were the two big ones that actually have the pro layout. But if you didn't care for either of those, you could have selected Straight No Chaser singing Christmas King and Can.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is it's not, we're not going to have a choose your own sequence, but that doesn't mean that we can't give you options. And then if you like all of them, you get one for free with your monthly sequence with your club, and then you have the choice to purchase the other two sequences at half price. So that's for club members only, and it's a heck of a thing. Whenever you can sit there and say, "Hey, yeah, I'm going to throw that in the show," it's only $35 for the original sequence, and then you upgrade to pro, you get the $100 sequence for $50. So it's a hell of a deal for club members. So, but yeah, it's so
and
far
I'm
everybody's really liked it.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, I'm gonna plug that Straight No Chaser real quick because when it
Yeah.
goes fa la la la, it goes down the tree and then
Mhm.
up the tree. It's awesome.
Rob was just playing with that the other day, and he was having a blast. I was like, "No, you should try this. No, you should try this." Then he's like, "Shut up, shut up, Clyde. Looks good."
Oh yeah, look at that. That is really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I love it when it does the fa la 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 la. So,
Well, the fun part,
you got it.
the fun part of this is the Jingle Bells, isn't it? Yeah, that's Jingle
Yep,
Bells.
this has been Crosby. Yep.
Yeah. The thing is that there. I think in my opinion, the goal is that there's you usually have to have your staples of sequences that are, or songs and selections that are a little bit more traditional. I don't want to call it classic, but traditional usually ends up being what everybody considers classic. So I tend to see that we've nailed down the major classic songs. So this is going forward. I expect to see a little bit more modern
All right.
classics. And when I say modern, I'm gonna date them and say they're gonna be about my age, which is in less than 45 years old. So
Is that the first clue?
We're supposed to be taking notes right now, right? Wasn't that
by all means you can take
was that-
notes, but this
was
is
that? Let me get
this-
the wink going for those that.
But I guess I'm gonna deflate your tires right now because there is no monthly sequence next month.
I thought you already did.
Because
All right.
November for the PPD Sequence Club is pick your own sequence.
What?
That's right. Oh my gosh, I totally
right.
forgot about that. Yes.
As a club member, you can join the club. First month is $50. If you haven't joined, it's $40 after that each month. Every November, it's choose your own. I don't have time to sequence in November. I just don't. Or October. The whole month of October. We're actually in the last week. We're in the last 3 days of November. I probably could pull something out of my behind, but it wouldn't be something that I would want people to have in the hold. But we have put enough into the store this year where there is such a great variety, and people haven't had the opportunity to go and pick them up or bought them yet. This is anything in the store you can select. So there will not be any new releases the whole month of November.
So I am gonna go to.
So can we bring up the webpage so we can see all these freaking all these amazing sequences that we can?
I'm bringing up the Christmas sequences because I don't do the Halloween show.
I'm doing it right now.
But if you can, your internet's probably a lot better than mine because I am going through a snowstorm.
I got you covered. Look at all these guys.
Thank you.
Holy moly!
Now, if you want my top 5,
yeah,
because I've been, like I said, I've been in PPD since I started last spring. I think April. I think I came in to PPD, and they are of even last year's sequences were just amazing on the original layout. Um, they were a piece of cake to map, although I skipped a step mapping. Still turned out pretty good.
Mhm.
Snoopy is probably my all-time favorite. I absolutely love the Snoopy the Snoopy song. I'm trying to think of what it is.
Yeah, Snoopy Christmas.
The Baron.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
tree. If you scroll down there,
Royal Guardsman. Yep.
yeah, that's
My
the one.
absolute favorite. And then Christmas Can was another favorite.
Mhm. That so
But
so
you
there
even had
was
to
there was a time period when we used to allow members to nominate sequences for the month, and it was getting to the point where there were some really terrible nominations, and the community was coming up with some really wild and crazy stuff, and to the point where, yeah, I'm not sequencing that. So we every month, though, we pulled it out by the skin of our teeth. The community would vote on the ones, one of the five that we selected, and they ended up pulling the most surprising ones. Johnny Mathis is beginning to look like Christmas. um, Frosty was never a monthly sequence. Frosty did come out in November
Yeah, I love the
last
Frosty.
year, but
yeah, Frosty one was another good one.
there were just a lot of them, and then everybody says, well, why isn't there a pro version of those sequences yet? And the truth is that it takes 40 hours to sequence on the pro layout, and when you think about 40 hours worth of work, that's a whole work week. That literally is 40 hours sitting in front of the computer.
Mhm.
And to go back, and I don't know about the rest of you, but when you go and sequence a song, and if you only sequence for, like, let's say 20 hours, and you have your layout is set up, and you can do your sequence in 20 hours. That's like the average, mediocre, normal. I'm going to spend 20 hours and I'm going to get a sequence in. The old original layout used to only take me about 22 hours.
Hmm.
Now it takes me 40 to do the pro. And
Mhm.
it's only because there's so much more to sequence. There's so much more variation in it. And to go back and look at the way I used to sequence versus the options that are available now, it's so incredibly challenging to
Mhm.
not mess with the original and then upgrade the pro. And then I end up
Yeah.
spending 40 hours on the pro version and redoing the original version. And it's a lot of time invested whenever I can just put my head down and do a new sequence and add something more new to the store. So it's not that I don't see, if going forward, what I do see happening is, if somehow I would need to resequence something, it were a requirement because let's say I had a corporate customer come in and say, I really want can, but I'd like it to look like this, and they had some specific requirements, and bam, they're going to have me do it in a different way. Maybe I might consider doing a pro version because I'm going to have to go back through and do the work for it, right?
Mhm.
So that would make kind of sense, and
All right.
and that's what Robert and I talked about. We don't mind doing that and making it into something whenever it's only just a little bit more of a step, but going back, it's just so hard.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of you have ever used Wizards of Winter in your show, and I've used it since 2006. That's a long time, and to
Yeah.
redo that sequence every year, it's so much work, and it's hard. It's not easy to do it anymore because it doesn't have the fun side of it that it used to whenever it was brand new. Now it's like a 13-year-old sequence, and so you have to keep reinventing it and tell yourself, no, it doesn't do that now. It does this, and so it does. You get artistic blocks with it sometimes. So
Do
Yeah.
you like the pro layout? Because I mean, it gives you a lot more to play with, a lot more potential, right? So that's kind of a fun thing. I know it's adding a little bit more time, but I mean, you definitely are. It's like fine wine. It's definitely maturing, and it's looking great.
the thing that I see with what I love about the pro layout is it's just versatile.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my home layout, but every time I sit there and I sequence it, I can think of my home layout and see where everything's going to work out. In my head, I just, because I sat down and I did my layout
Yeah.
from last year for this year. So in my head,
Very
I'm
good.
sitting there thinking, I bought the new models that I bought from Boscoyo this year in the summer sale were on purpose, were things off of the Pro layout because I already had them sequenced. It kind of just made
Of
sense. I'm
course.
like, oh, I'm
Yep.
going to get that. Rob designed the Pro layout. The idea behind the Pro layout was to give a different version of awesome, and for people who had ultra large displays. And that kind of goes back to the other question I had from people last year, like, are you going to upgrade all my old sequences because I don't have enough sequencing in them to bring them into my new layout, which is bigger this year versus last year was smaller. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to have to stretch it out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is
Yeah.
there a way
Yeah.
on your website to actually search to separate the ones with the Pro layout and
Well,
ones?
there's an easy way. If you want to go ahead and share your screen,
I will.
if you go into the Christmas sequences, it's really easy to see which ones have and which ones do not have it. So stop right there. You'll see right away anything that has a variance range on the price is going to give you the option between original or pro. So if you look at the very first one, which is Andy Williams' Most Wonderful Time of the Year, $69.99. Now that denotes that there's only one version. If you look at Bob Rivers' Joy to the World.
Oops, I clicked accidentally. Yes.
$49.79. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a pro and an original version.
Mhm.
Bing Crosby. There's two Bing Crosby versions there, but they're Jingle Bells and Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Mhm.
The Jingle Bells is the monthly sequence, and you're signed in under your club account, so you see the special price at $34.99, which is half price of that's the half price. So
Sorry,
it
people.
shows.
Whoops.
So that's okay. No, that's great. But this kind of shows you, this is how you know which is which in the lineup. So yeah, you're just looking at the pricing. It just tells you if there's one price, that means there's only an original sequence for it.
I'm glad I asked that. Thank you.
We did try to make it easy. We tried to make it easy when we first started the first year by making what we called a combo deal. So if you wanted the tree sequence, the matrix sequence, and those were obviously the specialty trees and the specialty matrices. If you wanted those, and we bundle it all together into one product, and it became very confusing to build that. So Rob ended up only doing the original and the pro when we switched in January last year. So it made sense, and so far it's been well received. I mean, I certainly see a lot more pro sequences go out, and I think we're at the 75% upgrade rate right now from original to pro on any member. So if a member, so 75% of the people who are members, they'll upgrade to pro versus the original.
What's that tell you? Like, are you guys thinking maybe not even really working on the original going forward?
No, because and here's why. Because when Rob and I sat down and we figured out how we wanted to do the first year in 2017, when we were coming off the heels of doing the first Arizona project, when the drive-through was done, and we're sitting on Zoom one night and we were saying, what does the store layout look like? And he, if we looked at Extreme Sequences layout, it was Ron's house. If we looked at Showstoppers, it was Michael and Diana's house. And if we looked, well, Tom Bet George wasn't selling sequences back then. Lilia was doing it on hers and Sean's house. And I had the house that had the layout, and Rob's house didn't. But Rob's house was more normal. And we both looked at each other. I'm like, I don't think my house is good enough to put on there. I've got too much crazy stuff in my layout. I just do, and it wouldn't map well to other people. But I could map from another layout into mine, no problem, because I know how to do it. And he says, I think that's the point. I think we need to come up with a layout. So Rob and I went house shopping, and we probably spent a week shopping on the internet for a house, and we found it on a build site. We build new homes, and that's where the house preview came from, was a screenshot. We just said that's the house. And it turns out that I probably have probably worked with maybe 20 people over the past 2 years, 25 people that have almost identical houses to that model. And
Wow.
most recently, today's Monday. Saturday, I believe it was Saturday, I finished doing a you know, it's by all means everybody can. I love teaching people how to do things. There are some people who just, I don't want to do it, please do it for me. So we offer the service to set up your groups in Pixel Pro Display format. So when we create those groups, it makes it really easy for you to click auto map and all your sequences map like lickety split. In fact, last night on Zoom when we did our webinar, bam, we did a mapping in like a second, and he rendered the sequence after we followed the steps, rendered the sequence, and it played exactly as if as if he had mapped it himself and took the time to click and drag everything over, and it was phenomenal. But it was a service that we offer. But let me tell you, all he has to do now is just follow that simple process, drag over his matrix and his megatree, and he's done with every single sequence. And the beauty of it is that his house was set up, or their house was set up just like our original sequence. So it didn't matter if he bought the pro sequence or the original sequence. We always recommend the pro because next year's going to come and you're going to add more. And so I set him up with a pro layout import map, and if he adds spinners next year, all he has to do is put that spinner, build the spinner in xlights, and put that spinner in the spinner group. The sequencing's already there because he's mapped it already. Mm-hmm. And it makes it stupid easy. And just see the look on his face had to be priceless. I couldn't see him through Zoom, but going through and actually seeing the sequence after we mapped it was Candy Cane Lane, and he was just, you could hear him, he's like, oh, look at it, it's doing it, and it was his house, it was his layout. He built his own layout, and all I did was set up his groups for him, which did take some time, but I also did some submodeling for him too. I did a lot of extra little stuff. So whenever as he progresses and graduates, it's going to be just so much easier for him just to my PPD sequence, because it's all done.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. I'm sitting there on your site and I'm looking for your t-shirts because I know you got a new design for your t-shirt, or was that just the back of it?
The new design is the new design is for the back only, and that's any time, because the back of our shirts are reserved pretty much for our vendor affiliates, the ones who offer extras to us, and we pass the savings on to all of our club members. So we like to advertise for them because it's not all about us. We think the community is bigger than just Pixel Pro displays. We've always been like that. So we know there's no way that we can cover absolutely every need, but if we all work together as a community, we can help everybody in the community, and that's the basis for what Rob and I have been doing.
Definitely. Oh man, I totally forgot. I just went to the affiliates page because you guys have discounts with so many different vendors on there, and I just put an order in for Wired Watts, and I'm kicking myself in the butt. I could have got, clicking on it, my internet's a little slow.
You have to sign up.
I don't remember how much it is on there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he has a specific offer right now. I can't remember.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
so that's the challenge is that the Pixel, quote unquote, not the Pixel vendors, but the vendors who have physical merchandise, it's really hard for them to just pick one thing and do a special. It becomes a little challenging for them to keep track of things. So but what's nice is it's the other stuff. Like, I mean, let's face it, in January, everybody's going to sit there and say, I'm adding this, I'm adding this, I'm adding this, I'm adding this. And they're going to say, oh, pre-sale. So the whole month of January, everybody's like, I need to get my stuff for the pre-sale. Oh my God. And you know what? Usually what our affiliates will do is they'll give us a very exclusive pricing. They'll say, you know what? For everybody else, this is the price, but for PPD club members, we had one of the affiliates last year. It was an additional 15% off. A different one offered free shipping on their pixels if they ordered a certain dollar amount. Free shipping on free shipping could be equal to $200, and that almost is half of a yearly membership. Yeah. So it kind of makes sense to plan that out ahead of time.
Yeah, the affiliate program pays for itself. I'm not going to share that screen, but you know, that you got to become a member to see all that. But
There
I
are a
I
ton of
appreciate
them on there.
I appreciate
Ton
that.
of
yeah,
them.
yeah, join. No, I
Uh,
love.
but yeah, so I guess another announcement I guess I can make, something exciting that we are going to do. We have one of our affiliates, speaking of affiliates, is Ricky Cloudier. He is from CCR Controllers. Ricky has tells me over and again that my original video for building in Robert's shop,
Yeah.
that I built the ammo box build,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
that was like years ago.
Love
That
it.
was 2015, 2016 maybe.
2016.
And I spent $100 building that box and doing that. And Ricky saw my video and he's like, you know what? I have an idea to do that same thing too. That's really cool. And Ricky that same year went off and started building some of the most amazing enclosures that you could have ever imagined. I mean, they were gorgeous. They had LEDs in them and it was just insane and stuff. And the next thing you know, Ricky opens up shop and he now builds controllers, and that's what he does full time whenever he's not working his full time job. I mean, he literally, let me tell you, Ricky has probably built me 100 controllers this year for the work that we've been able to have done.
Mm-hmm.
I just watched part 1 again just to make sure I had my
Yeah.
voltmeter in the right position to test all of my 12 volt power supplies that I added to all my boxes today. So I went back and to double check that to make sure I was correct before I burnt something up. So I was just on it today.
Yeah,
Crazy.
that video is so resourceful. I mean, like, yeah, it's 2016, early days of 2016. I think that's the time. But that was like, yeah, that was, go back and watch that, people, because it's still relevant.
Oh,
today.
matter of fact,
Probably one of the
May 3, 2017 is part 1.
Yeah.
I still have it up.
I remember
It's had 9,000 views.
It's a pretty popular video. It's a popular video.
Definitely.
The old channel doesn't get the views like it used to, which I'm not too worried about. But I mean, because it's turning back into my home channel versus all doing all the hobby stuff on it. But it's interesting to see how things change over the years. But what I wanted to say about Ricky and the announcement I have for about Ricky is Ricky has graciously offered up 2 professional builds, and I'm not going to say exactly what they are until we make the official announcement. But we have in the month of November, the big announcement I would say is that if whatever sequence that you decide to download from Pixel Pro Displays, and if you post up your mapping in PPU, it'll probably be the first, just like we normally do, the first 15 days of the month. Anybody who maps their sequence and posts it in the group for mapping, then of course I get to, I don't tear it apart. I just say, oh, you could do this, and oh, you could do this, and I'll try doing this, and oh, you did a great job. Oh, it looks really awesome on your boy. My display looks like crap compared to yours. If you map your sequence, literally anybody can sign up for the contest to get into the raffle. All they have to do is pick one sequence in the store that we do, and if you have your own version, post that. So, but any club member can just download any one, because it's pick your own November. So pretty much November is a free for all, and there are 2 awesome pre-built items that Ricky has graciously put up to be raffled off on a live raffle that we'll do in probably mid to close to Thanksgiving, the week before Thanksgiving. So that's really
right
cool.
on.
That's really cool.
That's cool.
Heck yeah. Very sweet. So I do want to throw a plug out there real quick for xlights around the world to make sure everybody gets over to the said J Drive. Gosh darn it. That was my drive at work that we stored everything. Over to the shared drive and get that sequence, get it mapped to your layout. I think they're going to do, start submissions on December 20th. Was that right? Or 15th?
Probably November. Probably in November submissions will start. And
were they? Okay, I don't remember for sure.
I don't remember the exacts, but they're probably on there. Yeah, it's on the website.
Oh, look at Keith go. You're
there he
awesome.
is.
So it looks like so the sequence is available. You can go to this website, xlightsaroundtheworld.com, or like Brian was just saying, it's on the Google Drive. That's where you're going to get it no matter what. It's the Google Drive. But yep, you're going to need to download this, buy the song, download the sequence, and there should be an instructions how to map it and so on and so forth. It's pretty easy compared to last year. It's almost night and day difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good call.
And yeah, December video submissions, December 15th, it looks like. So is when they start going into I think you upload it right to the site, don't you?
You know what? I should have done some reading beforehand, but I believe what you do
I've
is
thrown this out there.
a video submission link will be available on the page. So you basically come this time, December 15th, somebody's going to send a submission page, and then you're just going to submit the video. Either I think you're just going to have to send the raw video, or you go and upload it to YouTube and then send the link in that format. But there's going to be a form to fill out, and it's basically going to be like where you live, and that's about it. And
Very cool.
if you've never been a part of that project, I suggest doing it. It's a great experience. It's an amazing feeling to see your show up there with some of the other big guys out there that have been doing this for so long, and it's a great feeling. So, and it's an amazing sequence, and it's free. So,
yeah.
So I'll tell you probably the most exciting part of it, and I'm speaking to the people who do enjoy sequencing, and if you download the sequence and you start playing with it, play with it. I mean, do play with it. Everybody's house will eventually just look like each other. I've sequenced the song in the past, and it is a very fun song, and my version is going to be completely different than everybody else's, and that's what's exciting to me, is that I already have it done. Yes, I have it done. But it's also the ability to, if you're a programmer, try doing different things for it, because then whenever I mean, Jordan Nash is going to do awesome video work. You know he is. And there's probably it's probably going to be a 20 or 25 minute long sequence this year. Like the whole full video is going to have probably, I'm guessing, I'm going to go out on the limb and say there's well over 450, maybe even 500 participants this year. And
you think that many?
I think it's a possibility. We had 350 last year or so.
Yeah.
You know,
true.
So I think in the end, I think it'll be interesting to see that people who take and use that free sequence, which is great, or develop their own, or work their own magic into it and make it something that, because there's a lot more that you can do with it. It's a good sequence, but you can do more. So don't just that. I think that's one of the things I would tell you is that there's always other options out there that you can do, things that you can put into it to make it just a little bit more customized. Whenever your house shows up and the other three houses all do the same, but yours is doing the same, but really cool, something different.
Thank you for saying that.
You got to change the color. Oops, sorry. Go ahead, Keith.
No, I was just going to say thank you for saying that, because that is an important thing to say, that just because they're giving you a free sequence doesn't mean you have to use it exactly like it's given to you. That, you know, you as a sequencer could put your own spin on it and still submit it. The only requirement, the only one, is just the song. That's it. You can even start from the sequencing from the beginning if you wanted to.
You know, the other side of the coin too is that, you know, if you didn't want yours to look anything like that, you could just sequence a specific part of that song, do about a minute of it, go out and record it, and that be it. You know, really work on a small part and submit that. Okay, you're still you're clearly defining exactly what part of the song that you can be a part of. But I think that's I mean, they probably want you to do the whole song, but think about it. If you really want to sequence, if you want to have a different take on it, I don't see why that wouldn't, you know, count as a submission. I mean, we've seen how many times people just stand there with their cell phone and they stand there and they have it in the portrait mode, and they just get their tree or they just get their roof line. There's nothing wrong with that. So if they're doing that, then what's the harm in doing a 1 minute segment, and because it's a 4-minute song. And I know if I sat and resequenced that song, it would take me probably about 50 hours. I'm not even kidding. 50 hours, that's a lot of time to sequence, let me tell you.
Yeah, the color palette.
Yeah, it could be
I'll
adjusted.
probably change up a little bit. There's a lot of purple and stuff. Or I just watched it today again. A little bit of yellow, a lot of purple and blue, I think it was.
Yeah,
So that might
my version, I think,
give you some room.
My version, I think, is a green. It's a green, white. The darker, the royal blue, the blue that's behind me in the picture here, and
Right.
also the lighter blue. So that's pretty much the colors that we stuck to on our version. And then it's actually in the store. I'm not trying to sell it. I mean, but by all means, go get the free one. I mean, it'll serve the purpose. But that was the color palette I chose, or we chose, I guess. But it worked really well on one of the installs that we did, and I loved it. So I had to redo the whole thing just to get it into my layout because it was nothing like that layout. But great song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love white. White's a good palette color for this because the like symbol, the drums that like that makes me think of white. You know, just like that initial pounding. Yeah.
Then if you watch the YouTube, the video of it too, I mean, where you have that break, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's right back at you. You know, it gets you into the mood for the rest of the song, and I mean, I wasn't a huge fan when we were. I mean, I like Bob Seger's version of Little Drummer Boy a lot better back then, but after listening to Forgotten Country and listen to them now, I mean, it's got me. And I'll sit here, I'll go in my man cave and I'll crank it up in here and I'll get the kids banging at my door, turn that down, Dad, what are you doing in there? So, I mean, I love the song now, and I think it's a really good song for xlights around the world. I think it'll be really interesting to see all the different displays with it. So.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great song. There's a lot of great hits on it, and there's so many variations that can happen. I mean, I probably could sit down. It's been sequenced two different ways that I've seen. One that's in our store, but another one that we used for an install. And then I know I could sit down and redo it a different way. So I mean, there's so many things in it for everybody. The other thing, you bring up a really good point. And a lot of people, this was the biggest hang up. Like, I hate that song. Everybody said during the summertime, either they loved it or they hated it. I don't want that song. And it became, you remember the drama that was created around that, the whole thing. And I hate to say this, but nobody is ever going to like everything 100%.
Of course.
But let me tell you, I have a number of people that will come to me and say, I want this sequenced. And I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, you're the only one that would want that sequence. Because nobody else. But at the same token, that's what they love.
Yeah.
And the honest to God truth is until you put 40 hours into a sequence, into a song that you really don't care for, it really does start to grow on you. And the more that you work with it, it becomes something totally different. I have nothing against Christian music whatsoever, but I sequenced 2 Christian music songs this year. Fantastic music. I would have never thought to put it in my show. And they were hard. They were not easy. One was Zach Williams' "Fear Is a Liar," and the other one was Joseph's Lullaby, and by Mercy Me. I think it's Mercy Me, and phenomenal. Probably Joseph's Lullaby is probably one of my favorite songs because I spent so much time sequence. It's probably 80 hours in that sequence. It was hard to sequence because it kept putting me to sleep because it was a lullaby.
Yeah.
So I'd work for about 5 hours on it. I'd sleep for about an hour. I'd wake up and like, oh, I got to keep going, So, but if you haven't checked those out, those are definitely they're surprises. They're very surprising to see. Oh, now you're going to put me to sleep.
I'm not going to play the music. I just wanted to show it's a very nice one.
Definitely. Awesome. Definitely a lot put into the sequence. Definitely a lot. Probably more into that sequence than most of any of the ones that I've done. There's a lot of neat things that I put into this that I never did in any other sequence, and I haven't repeated it either.
That's an interesting tidbit to know. I like that.
I usually try to stay away from duplicating. I do have presets, but there's a lot of times that it's such a telling to me. It's a telling preset that I don't like to reuse it. Or if I do reuse it, it has to be morphed and remodeled into something that nobody could ever imagine that it used to be that other one that I did, like a year ago. So that's why it takes so long to sequence, because it's hard to make a decision sometimes.
Bookmark this for November.
Which one are we gonna do?
Oh, it's a tough decision.
This
man.
is gonna be tough. I think this is you're actually making it hard.
Well, that's what
Yeah, it's harder than just.
Tom Langley said that last night in our webinar. He says, I really don't like you, Mr. Clyde. I said, what? I said, what? He says, you have like 50 sequences in that store, and I can only pick one.
Yeah. Exactly.
I said, but you can buy the rest of them. I'm not going to stop you from doing that. And he's like, exactly. So we finally give everybody what they want, and they're upset.
I know. That's how it is.
Of course, yeah. Yep. It's that 10%. Can't please them all 100% of the time. So, all right. Well, thank you, Clyde, for joining us tonight. And I totally forgot about not having a sequence. It is Pick Your Own for next month for November. So no hints, nothing to worry about this month for those that are always listening in for that. And Keith, always a pleasure.
Yeah,
Love talking to you, brother. So thanks for joining me. You did the technical support with putting the screen shares up that my internet we'd be halfway through getting done what we needed to get done. So do want to remind everybody, go to professionaltriers.com/Apple, I think it is. Put a comment on there, put a like on there, stars, give us a rating, let us know how we're doing. For the YouTube, down below in the comments, got any suggestions for us? What do you want to see in November? Who do you want to see? Kind of love that little impromptu that JR and I did and invited some folks into it with going live. So we can always do that and do a Q&A on different sequences, how we like them or rate them for everybody around the world. So, or around the sequencing spectrum. So closing comments, Clyde, you got?
Hey, it's just always great to be with you guys. Thank you very much for inviting me in today and reminding me that we hadn't done this yet. It's the end of the month already. So thank you, Keith. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, thanks for
very kind of you. Very kind of you.
Thank you, Keith. What do you got? You want to plug next week's? Your special?
John Spiker is going to be on. It's going to be a nice long episode. We did focus mainly on audio. So for you guys that are professional trier podcast only people, not into the YouTube, which I totally understand. I've been getting comments so far. They're like, come on, Keith, you're just so thinking about YouTube. And I'm like, okay, all right. So that episode's for you guys. And other than that, we got a lot of projects coming up on the professional triers. We're thinking about our own shows, but we're also thinking about next year and what we can do for you guys as far as content. And so, I love Brian's idea about commenting on the YouTube video, comment on Facebook, give us reviews. And also we want to hear like what show suggestions you might have, or guests that we can have. Because, we're reading all those comments every single time and we love them. And we're like I said, we're thinking about next year. We got some ideas, but we want to hear from you guys.
Oh, and one final thought, Dr. Z's that couldn't make it last Wednesday, he did get in contact with myself and JR, and we are going to try to get him set up. He's busy with doing everything that he is doing. He is a real doctor in life, real world. So he is very busy with his career and with the home automation, but we are going to try to set that up. And I don't know who is actually going to do it. I think Keith and I might do that interview with him. So that may be a lot of fun. As soon as we get all three schedules in line, we will get that done and get that sent out to you guys too. So thank you for listening and watching if you are on YouTube. So thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys.